A very good morning to all the students. Welcome back to the class after your exams. I hope every one of you is fine and in your best health. So we were doing this chapter number 9, that is Heredity, from our biology section. And in this chapter we have learned about few keywords. And now today, moving ahead with the topic, we'll be studying about inherited traits and rules for the inheritance of traits and Mendel's contribution. Now, I hope all of you would be remembering the terms which we have learned already, that are traits. Traits means the characters, and inherited means the characters which transfers from one generation to the next generation, which are in the terms of heredity. Okay, so they transfers through the genes from one parent to the offsprings, from both the parents actually. Okay, now so the Gregor Mendel was the first scientist. He made a systematic study of patterns of inheritance which involved the transfers of characteristics from parents to progeny. Here progeny means the offsprings. So we have already discussed about these terms which I'm gonna use today in the class. So you should be aware of those terms. So if you don't remember those terms now, please go to the previous tutorial which was given before your exams. So in that tutorial I have mentioned all the terms which we will be using in this chapter. Okay, so now what did the Mendel do? So he used different varieties of pea plant. Okay, so why did he use only pea plant? So the experiment, the famous experiment which he did was on a pea plant. Because if he would have done an experiment on human beings, so we know that the life expectancy of human beings is quite a long, and Mendel was also a human, obviously. So he was back that time, it was not possible for him to study different generations of human beings, because everybody will be living for so long. But in the case of pea plant, as it was growing in his garden, and some of the characteristics or traits of the pea plant transmissions of progeny was very easy to investigate by Mendel. And what did he experimented on? He experimented on three things, that are: number one, he experimented on height. He took three main things. The second was shape of the seed. And the third was the color of the seeds. Okay, so height, it was either tall or dwarf. So height was either tall or dwarf. That means he took two different plants, one of short height and one of long height, and he crossbreed them. Then he took plants which were having different shape of seeds, that is round or wrinkled. Okay, and the color of seeds were white or violet. No, the color of seeds were not white or violet. The color of seeds were either yellow or green. So he took one more thing. This was on these seeds. Then he took one more thing, like he also took the color of flower. Okay, there was a contrasting characteristics in this one, color of flower of the pea plant. So some had white flowers and some had violet flowers. Okay, so these were the main characteristics in which he investigated of pea plant. So now Mendel chose pea plant for studying the inheritance, because pea plant had a number of normal very clear-cut differences which were easy to tell apart. And because in the garden he was having so many pea plants, some were tall, they were having strong long stem, and some were having short stem, so they were called as dwarf. Dwarf means short heighted. Then the reason for having this pea plant was that they were self-pollinating. That means it was very easy to get the new generation or the next generation of those plants very easily. Okay, So again, I would like to tell you that in the case of pea plant, it was easy to find different generation. But if he had done in human beings, so the generation had a long lifespan, so it was not easy for the Mendel to study them. Okay, so a new form of plant resulting from this crossbreeding of different varieties of a pea plant is known as a hybrid. So what did he produce? He produced a hybrid. Okay, so hybrid is a new form of plant which we get from the crossbreeding of different varieties of plants. A new form of plant resulting or rising or which take birth from the new different plants from a crossbreeding of different varieties of plants. So this you have already learned in your class 9. Okay, so when two different pea plants were having different characteristics, or we can say that they were having a contrasting characteristics, that one was having a tall height and one was having a short height, that is one was dark and one was tall. But he took this experiment in two different levels, that first he took a monohybrid inheritance and then second time he took a dihybrid inheritance. How? That we gonna study here, that there were some rules for the inheritance of traits. Okay, so the inheritance is the transmission. Actually, transmission means to transform or change of genetically controlled characteristics from one generation to the next. For example, any plant is a tall heighted plants, and then in the garden there are all tall heighted plants. So obviously a tall heighted plant will because they are self-pollinating, so it is having all the male and female part in the same plant, so it will pollinate by themselves. So all the plants which will be produced from those next generation plants will be tall. But if we contrast the main character of tallness and dwarfness with a short plant, what will happen? Either we can get a tall plant or a short plant. That is what Mendel's experiment was about. Okay, so in this monohybrid cross, we have to study the inheritance of one pair of contrasting characteristics of tallness or dwarfness. First, tallness and dwarfness. Okay, of pea plant by their generation, by their F1 generation and F2 generation. So these are the progenies, that is offsprings. So this is first filial generation and this is second filial generations. So if we breed two pea plant having two contrasting characteristics, so we obtain a new plant which is having a different characteristics. Okay, so here we are having only one quality, but if we take two different qualities like shape of seed and color of seed, so this will be having two properties, two characteristics. So this is called as dihybrid cross. Okay, so in dihybrid cross we have to study two pairs of contrasting characters, because in this we are just taking one character, that is height. But if we will take two different characters here, so it will be called as a dihybrid. So first we will be studying about the monohybrid, that is in this Mendel studied about only one contrasting character, that is height, and contrasting character was tallness and dwarfness, which is called as law of segregation. Okay, so first we'll study in your book. It's all a mix, but I am teaching you like this. So when you read your book, they haven't mentioned like this, but it's better for you to learn like this way. So it's mono hybrid, because in monohybrid only one contrasting characteristic is taken. Monohybrid inheritance and law of segregation. Okay, So in this monohybrid inheritance and law of segregation, Mendel crossed a pure breed pea plant having different traits. That is, he was having a tall plant and a dwarf plant. So I'll explain you with the help of a diagram here, like this. So first he took tall plant, which we will mention with capital T. This also we have done, and it crossbred with a dwarf or a short plant. Both the things are same, so it will be represented by a small t. Okay, then they were crossbreed. So after crossbreed, we have first filial generation, which is called as F1 generation. So the plant from this crossbreed was tall. Okay, so tall would be capital T and small t. How this will happen, I will show you in another diagrammatic representation. Then the next was again capital T and small t. So this is also tall. Again a tall plant, capital T and small t, and again a tall plant, capital T and small t. So this is F1 generation. So here we got all the 4 plants which are having tall feature or tall characteristics. So this is for the F1 generation. Now for the F2 generation, so when the F1 generation was crossbred, okay, so now in this F1 generation we will take again 2 plants which is tall. So because from this generation we get capital T and small t, and again we'll crossbreed with the another tall plant, this. So now what we'll get after crossbreeding, now we'll get capital T and capital T, again a capital T, a small t, a capital T, a small t, and a small t and a small t. So it's tall, it's tall, it's tall, and it's dwarf or short. So if you see, this is F2 generation. Okay, so here when I was teaching you about dominant gene and recessive gene, so dominant means the character which that gene has will dominate. It will show its character. And when I say recessive gene, that means that character of that gene will be in a recessive form, which is not displayed, which we don't see. So here capital T is a dominant gene and small t is a recessive gene. So when the plant will have these capital and capital, that means this is symbol for tall. So the plant will be tall. Again, because this small t is a recessive, which we have learned in our previous lecture. I hope all of you would be remembering that when we write small t, it's for recessive. So because recessive is, it does not lead. It will only show its characteristics when the other characteristics is also of a recessive gene. But when there is a presence of a dominant gene, this will not show its characteristics. So this capital T is here, so the plant will be tall. Now here also capital T and a small t, the plant will be tall. But here both the T are small, so here recessive gene will have chance to show its characters. So because the characteristic of this small t is recessive, that is dwarf, so the plant will be dwarf. That means the ratio will be 3:1 here in this. Okay, so in the F2 generation the ratio is 3:1, but in the F1 generation, what was the ratio? It was because tall and all the trees, the plants were tall, so it's just the ratio of, so this is having a simple ratio, all the plants are tall because they are having one recessive character here small, so it will not show its character because it's a small capital T here. So it will see here also one is totally capital T, and then here are 2 small and then 1. So it is also 1:2:1 ratio, which we can call it as a 3:1 ratio, because all 3 are tall and 1 is dwarf. So this is for the monohybrid ratio and the monohybrid inheritance. So according to Mendel's first law of inheritance, the characteristics or the traits of an organism are determined by the internal factors which occur in the pair. So because they are occurring in the pair, so because in this pair, because this is a dominant gene present, so it will show the characters of the dominant gene. But when the pair will be having both the characters of a recessive gene, then only the characters will be shown. So only one of a pair of such factor can be present in a single gamete. So because we know in the humans also there are 23 pairs of chromosomes, and out of those 22 are the autosomes and 1 is the sex chromosome. So in that also, when we'll study about human beings, so first generation we can find out the how it will happen, what will be the progeny of first generation and what will be the progeny of the second generation. We'll be studying that. So this I will be explaining you in a more simpler form how it happened, how I did this. So explanation. Okay, so first was Mendel said that each trait it's determined by a pair of factors. Okay, so pair of factors are very. So the explanation is the pair of factors. This means that the pure breed tall plant P has 2 factors, that is a capital T and a capital T. So its trait is tallness. It's tall, so it will only have the tallness trait or character. And the second which is having the small t, it having the character of dwarfness or shortness or short. Okay, so the next factor is the inheritance, how it will pass. That means the tall tree has 2 gametes, that is one it's this T and the other is this T gamete, and then the dwarf tree have 2 gametes T and T. Okay, so these 2 gametes, so we will learn how to crossbreed these gametes. So the gametes of this tall tree, not tree, actually pea plant, will cross and with the gametes of the short pea plant or the dwarf pea plant, and we will get the progeny which is called as F1 generation. How it happens, like if we'll study here parental cross. Okay, for the first generation, so it's tall plant and here is dwarf plant. Okay, so because this tall plant is capital T and this having gametes small t, so these are the characters we have to study here. So capital T both, and here will be small t. Okay, so now gametes will be, it will having a this gamete and this will having this gamete. Okay, and then this will be having small t gametes and this will be having small t gamete. I hope you understand because I have just told you here. So we consider these as in gametes. So if this is the parent phenotype. What is phenotype and genotype? Genotype is the term which I have told you, which we see as a character from our eyes, like tree is short or the tree is tall, so that is genotype. And when we study here in this cross, that is called as the phenotype. Okay, so it's a phenotype of parent, that is appearance. Okay, so factors of inheritance are this. So this is the factors of inheritance and these are the gametes. Okay, so now when there is cross-linked, so this T will cross-link with this. This you have studied in your class 8 also. So when this T will cross with this T, it will be capital T and small t. Then this T will cross with this T. Okay, so it will be again capital T and small t. Now this T will cross with this T, again capital T and small t, and this T will again cross with this T, capital T and small t. I hope you can see clearly. So this is how we got this generation. This is F1 generation. So this is F1 generation, it's genotype actually. Okay, so this is the phenotype, and what we see is called as the genotype. Okay, sorry, which we see is called as phenotype, sorry for that, and which we study in the terms of gene is called as genotype. So what we'll see will be because this is the terms of genes, so it's genotype, first generation genotype. I've given you those definitions also, please learn those definitions. Okay, now it's a genotype. And when this plant is, now because it's a capital T, so it will tall. Okay, now this is also tall, this is again tall, and this again tall. So this is the phenotype of F1 generation. Okay, it's phenotype. Okay, so whatever, when we cross these, so when we see these in the terms of genes, it's called as genotype, and the characters which we see from eyes, it's called as phenotype. Okay, so now we got the first generation. So because the small letter t represents the recessive trait, I hope you remember all the terms. It's recessive trait or character is dwarf kiski, small t ki. Okay, so small t. So but here all the capital T's are with the small t. So the capital T. So here all the T's are capital. So all the T's are capital, and the capital T has the dominant trait sorry for the spellings, it's dominant trait. Okay, so that is tallness, which is capital T. Okay, so capital T, either we can just write simple T. So because dominating is capital, so the plants will be tall. Okay, so this is for the first generation. Now what for the second generation? So for second generation, it is we will take the F1 cross, which is first generation cross, which we have got. So we have done here now. I explained you this. First we'll take first generation, and then again we'll cross with the first generation. So for this F1 cross, we'll take again tall plants, which we have got from the first generation, and then we'll cross again tall plant. So these tall plant we have got from the first generation, so it's capital T and capital T. Okay, so now this is the F1 from the F1 generation. Okay, so it's a phenotype. Phenotype means what we see. So we see the tall plant, and this is the genotype. Okay, so again it will have a gamete capital T, but this will have a gamete of small t, and this will have a gamete of capital T, and this will have a gamete of a small t. Okay, so again it will be crossbreed. What we'll get? A capital T and a capital T. Okay, and then when it will be crossbreed with this, we'll get a capital T and a small t. And when it will crossbreed with this, a capital T and a small t, and with this, a small t and a small t. So this is very simple for you to understand. So capital T, tall, capital T again, so tall, because here is small t but small t is recessive, and here both the t's are small, so it's dwarf, that means short. So because here now this recessive gene has chance to show its character, because there is no dominating gene with this, so both the genes are recessive, so they can show their characters, so they will show the characteristics of dwarfness. And again tall. So this is how we get 3:1 ratio, that is 3 will be tall plants and 1 will be dwarf plants. So this is how we get F2 generation. Okay, so what we see is phenotype, and what we see in the genes is genotype. Okay, so this is the F1 cross, so it's F2 generation. So on this, the single copy of this factor, because we have taken so Mendel has taken only one characteristics, so it was monohybrid, and this T, capital T is enough to make a plant tall, but both copies of the factor and T, actually we need both the things, it is capital T and a small t is necessary to show the characteristics. So here we have this capital T was 1, and this because these are also tall, but it is having one characteristic of recessive also in this, so 2 is the ratio and 1 is the short. So although it is T is present in both the things, but it will not show its characteristics. So this was for the monohybrid. Okay, so this was only showing the characteristic of tall plants. Now after this we will be learning about the different characteristics of yellow seeds and green seeds, and then the shape will be wrinkled or the round green seeds. That is in the dihybrid inheritance, which we'll be doing in our next lecture. So till then, try to do all the questions which I'm going to give you, and read again, watch again these things what I've told you. It's very easy, but it's very important. Every time from this chapter questions comes to this, and for this year of yours, the evolution portion is deleted from your syllabus for this year only. So many times I've seen the questions from evolutions comes a lot of times. Okay, so because that portion is deleted, so the chances of this topic is, it's 100% it will come. So you have to just learn this F1 generation, F2 generation. It's very important for you. So it's very important and super easy. So please do this and get your marks. Okay, so do all the questions, and if you have any problem you can ask me. Okay, so till then, take care and study hard. Bye.